I can't believe we are sitting here. Early January this year, I was in a totally different place. I don't know what I thought. I had this dream that I always had, and I was like, maybe I should give it a go. I actually started Arts to Hearts in September of 2020, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work or not, and I really wanted to find some, a community, and I was really lacking a lot of connections. And then something happened. I think I caught my fear, or that it overtook, I don't know what, but that date. And I had to pause for a bit, but then again in January I was like, you know what, I might as well give this a go, give this my 100%. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I can't believe it's been an year of Arts to Hearts. We launched properly, like relaunched everything, the website, the podcast, everything. Like we did the podcast in March, but we I started working on the podcast way before. And we are sitting on 16th of December. I'm really recording this just before posting and sharing and publishing this episode, because I was like, I don't know what I have to say. There's so much I have to say. I don't know if it makes sense. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do recaps and what? And I was like, maybe I just need to let go of that perfection and just hit the record button and go for it. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. This is your host, Charuka, and the founder of Arts to Hearts Project. Oh my god, I've been saying this line. This feels really, really. It freaks me out, but it also makes me so happy because, I never thought I would be able to. I actually thought, honestly, when I reframed this, I actually wanted to always say this line, your podcast host, and, you know, I don't know. And I always wanted to start a podcast, and it felt like at that point I did not have clarity on what I actually wanted to do. But I knew that every time I would see someone else, I would hear to a lot of podcasts, and I was like, I knew I could see myself there. I love sharing my thoughts and ideas, and I knew that I could find my people via this platform, and I'm glad I did, because I don't think I would have had so many wonderful connections and support that I have today if I hadn't taken that chance and just given the work. And without, I mean, of course, I know how to run a business, and I told myself that I'm going to give myself. I told this to myself that I'm going to give myself 2 years without expectations, and I will try my best to make this, self sustainable. And if not, I'm going to keep funding this and keep doing it and give myself at least 2 years to see how it goes. I'm glad to say that we're almost there of the first year. It's been an incredibly wonderful, hardworking, vulnerable. I don't know. I don't have words, because sometimes you feel like one day you're dreaming this dream, and I feel like this year has passed with a whim, with so much pain, with so much I think I've had so much self growth, because I had to get over so many moments and hurdles of life. But when I look back and I sit here today, I have no script in my hand. I'm completely blabbing, believe me. And honestly, that's what I do for most of my podcast and interviews. By the way, if you are thinking why this isn't like a interview, because that's what we do on a Thursday at this point on this day, I was like, we have only 3 more weeks left to go for 2021, and I have decided to take a set, a little step back to look at things from a bigger perspective. I want to look at what has happened in this year. A lot has happened for me, the good, the bad, the hard. And honestly, I am exhausted, and I think I want to be more intentional with what I put out there. And it's one, it's good to have so much intake of knowledge and experiences and conversations, but now I feel is a time that I want to reflect. I want to look at things that have happened, what I've done, how I can do things better the next year, and just be a little slow for a few days. And I was like, maybe should I publish an interview this time, or I should, maybe do a recap or something. And I was like, you know what? I can keep doing the interviews in the next year. That's something I absolutely love, and I know all of you do too. But I wanted to, because this podcast is kind of a journey that I keep sharing with all of you, and it didn't feel honest and more, yeah, just did not feel right to me that I feel I want to take a step back and slow things down, and I keep pushing content for you to absorb. And then I decided that I am rather going to take this opportunity and take you on this journey of reflection with myself. So, yeah, for the coming weeks, you wouldn't hear any artist interviews or other interviews, but I am going to be sharing a lot more fun. I really wanted to take this chance to play a little with these episodes, so we've planned some really exciting episodes. Like the next two episodes will be very fun. It's like a if you've been a regular listener, I'm sure you'll enjoy that, because it's like if you're putting together all the fun that we've had in the past year in one episode. I'm sharing my best moments, rapid fires, some inspiring content that I have heard and spoken with in these interviews. And it feels really, it's a little overwhelming, because I feel like, oh my god, what if I don't publish an artist interview? What if people don't like it? What if you guys was like, you were expecting that? And I was like, I need to take that. I brought you along this journey. I decided I'm going to lead this. And I was like, I am going to take that step forward and lead this way into it again. I have been halting a lot of things. I am now halting. I have reduced my recordings for these few weeks. I also have just finished our second last studio visit with an artist, Gidai, on Instagram. The studio visit series is again something that I've absolutely loved. I don't know if you've not seen it yet. You have to go to Arts to Hearts Project, and you have to. It's just one of the best experiences I have had along with the podcast. We did, like, I've done over 25 studio visits this year. I've hosted over 40 artists on the podcast. And these conversations are one that I've had real time in real person with so many amazing women. This, I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, I thought, oh my god, I feel like already so disconnected. I did not have an immediate community. The immediate community I had to myself was something I dreaded. And I felt so lost and alone that I thought with the pandemic, I'm just going to be even more lonelier, and maybe I don't know how things are going to pan out. And on the contrary, when I'm looking back today, I moved to my parents' house in between the pandemic in a small town where there's no art scene, nothing at all, in India. And I'm looking back at things. I have never interacted with this amount of women creatives who are just so inspiring in my life ever that I have in the past 1 year. It's just I don't know. And I'm glad that I took that leap of faith and believed in myself, and I put in the work. It wasn't easy. I would just say that, yesterday, I also shared this on my Instagram that I was just going through, once we had the studio visit on Instagram on Arts to Hearts Project, I was just going through all our episodes. I was downloading those videos, since we will be publishing the studio visit project book. That's something that I'm really, really thrilled and excited about. I have always wanted to, have something that survives more than me, like this podcast. If I'm not here today, you would remember me and the work that I've done. And similarly, I want to share that experience just in more than one medium. I've been thinking of writing this book for a very long time, and I'm excited to now, because I finished the studio visit. I finished this 1 year of podcasting a few months less. But yeah, and while I was on other note, while I was looking at those videos and downloading them to share it with my writer and who's assisting me with all of this, I was just going through my own IGTV videos, and it's like a journey that I've had on my like. Sometimes when you're sitting on that seat, you don't know every day what's happening, but when you see all of those together, it makes sense. When I look at those videos, when I hear these podcasts, it's just not these conversations that I'm looking at. I remember every little moment before I switched on the live button or pressed the record button for the podcast. Um, in this year, in the beginning, it was all good. I was very excited, and I thought the best was happening. And then in the middle of the year, I lost my mom, and it was one of the hardest things I still have to deal with. And I remember every time when I would had to show up for the podcast or for the studio visit, it was very, very hard. I remember I had to talk myself, a few hours before. I had to deal with so much of anxiety, and just I knew I wanted to show up, but I knew it was so hard. I was just looking at myself on how I would how felt at that point, how hard it was for me. But even then, I would pull myself together every time before a recording, every time before a live visit, and I show up. And I think honestly, just doing that act has helped me so much to go forward. Otherwise, I don't think I have would have found that energy. So I owe a lot to you guys, because if I didn't know that I had these listeners who were coming and showing up every week, I wouldn't have felt so accountable. Um, I felt like I was taking someone on a journey with me, and I didn't want to abandon them just because I was having a hard time. And even though I did get creative, and we did like a few Instagram takeovers or podcast takeovers, while I essentially had to take some time to pull myself together and to absorb what has happened. I made sure that this podcast, the platform, everything kept going, which was one of the hardest things I have done. And you know what? This is something that I want to keep reminding to myself. Every time when I'm going to go through a hard year, I really want to remind myself of this year, because I haven't really seen anything harder than this for me. And I hope not anyone this to anyone else, and for myself also in future. Um, you know, an year which was is full of growth, where I have experienced so much of growth in my own career, in my own self. I have also experienced the tremendous amount of pain that I never thought was possible. And you know, on one side, I could take that pain and I could sit back, and not that I if that needed to be, maybe I would have done. But I knew that I am someone who needed to I needed a space to put all my energy into, and I did not want to go into a hole where it was even hard for me to come back from. And I put all my energy in spite of the pain. I would take that pain, put that together, and put all of it into my work. And coming here always made me comforted. It also gave me a sense of purpose every day. I can't even put in words of how much all of this means to me. Sharing my story with you, sharing this journey with you, everything that I've been doing. It's just something that I really, 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 really cherish. And it's like it's it's a part of my own legacy when I think of it in a bigger scheme of things. I am leaving behind, even on those hard days or good days, whatever it is. I am working every day so that whenever I go, I leave a legacy behind of my own. I don't want to look at numbers merely. I want to make sure that anyone who gets on this podcast from the first episode to whatever time, or who follows or looks at things at any point of time, they are able to experience this journey with me and maybe learn a few things in this process. You know, that's been the bigger purpose for me, that I I just have this deep desire that I want to keep sharing whatever I learn. I want to keep learning from other people, and I want to keep sharing that. I want to keep growing, and I want to make sure that I share that growth with other people who are coming with me, behind me. So yeah, that's something that I've been really thinking about. I've been taking some time to reflect on things and to see where they are and where I want to go from here. And I also want to, give myself a pat on the back that how far I have come given the amount of hurdles I've had. And even if I wouldn't have done so much or all of these, I would have still been so much happier that I got through this year, because God knows how much strength that took. Yeah, so that's what's been on my mind. We have like planned a few things to take this idea on Arts to Hearts platform, like on a bigger concept. We are doing like these recaps, podcast recaps, studio visit recaps, and I just, at this point, I don't want to force you, me, or my team to create more. I want all of us to look back, and celebrate everything that we've done so far. That is the mantra that I have for the next few days, next few weeks actually. And that's what we're all going to be working at Arts to Hearts, and me personally. Another thing I have to share, which is that I have recently just launched an art series of mine, which is Heirloom, which is quite related to what I'm actually sharing right now. you know I hadn't been able to focus so much on my art because I wasn't really making so much. I just was not in that place of making work, and that is where I am. I have no guilt of taking a back seat, because I want my process of making art to be a truly authentic process. I don't want to force myself and then hate to be in the studio. So I have been taking a lot of time off from the studio, and now that I was, regaining myself and looking at things, I just had this goal of mine that I really wanted to do. That before the year ends, I wanted to make sure that I just release some kind of work in the world, some kind of my work in the world. I knew that I didn't have the time to make more work. So I decided that I'm going to look back at things. That's what I have done actually. So I had been making a few works in the past year that I hadn't really shared, and put that out there. And I was like, why not take this step, bring these all together, and finally give them a chance to be out in the world. So I released my series Heirloom, that you can check on www.charukarora.com. It feels weird to say my own website here today, but yeah, I really want you to check that out because I've really worked hard. My website had been on hold for so many months. With the second wave, I had already been working on my website, and when everything happened, I put it on the back burner. I never got the time or the will or the energy to put my website back together. And I just wanted to make sure that you have a desire. I did not want to step into a new year with the feeling that I had some unfinished business. And I pushed myself and I launched the Heirloom series. Now, it's been such an experience of putting this series together, because when my mom passed away, I was shaken to the core. I still am shaken to the core, because I don't know how to explain it. It's like an anchor that no matter where you go in life and what direction you go in life, you have an anchor centered. Like you have this anchor to the center, something that's holding you together. No matter where you go, how far you go, what direction that you go, you always know that there's something grounding you from the center. When I lost her, I felt like I lost that center, and I felt like I was floating into the ocean and I didn't know where to go. Wherever the wind took me, I would just go into that direction. And I wouldn't, I just didn't know how to ground myself anymore. I felt like I had lost the very big purpose of my own life and something that inspired me to do everything that I was doing. And it was very hard to not have her presence. It's still very hard to not have her presence. But what really switched from me was in that process, I started looking at her things. Um, I started, I would look at her jewelry. I still wear her clothes. I'm still right now, even as I record, I'm wearing this black sweater that, oh my God, she looked so adorable in. It was one of her favorite sweaters, and she would wear it with this, blue jeans. And she was always so fond of her clothes, and I was, for one, never someone who would so be bothered about what I was wearing and how I was looking. But she was someone who was always so obsessed with it. And you know I was missing so much of her warmth that I I started wearing more and more of her clothes, and every time I would wear something that she wore, it felt like she was wrapping me around her arms. It was like I could feel her, the jewelry I wore of her, the clothes that I wore of her, the things that I ate because she liked them. And I still have tons of things that I hold so dear to me because I remember why she bought them or what it meant to her. These pieces are no more things to me. These are my inheritance, my belongingness of memories, my way of living. Because if I don't have these as well, I don't think I have any other way to live through her. And I am so glad that she was this person who would so fondly invest in so many things and buy these clothes and so passionately do those things that even today when I wear that sweater or this sweater, it reminds me of her energy. It reminds me of everything who she is. And that's how the series came together. Because in my own experience, when I was finding these little pieces that may not mean anything to someone, but I knew that they were a part of her story, that it reflected who she was. It reflected her likes, her dislikes, why she bought something at that point, what she wanted to do with it, what she wanted to say with it. And these pieces have become my pieces of heirloom. I hope I can cherish them all my life and maybe pass them on to our futures. And that's how I have been looking at my work now. Because I know art isn't something that people it's not a necessity. It is a luxury. I understand that. And we all it's not even it's an experience. Actually, when we buy a piece of art, it's it's a piece of a story that we are building. We are trying to say something via our own selections of the work that we are buying. And these works, they don't just sit on the walls. They talk to you, they comfort you, they remind you of why you bought something, what you wanted to share. It connects you with other people and with your family. The biggest thing I realized was that how these things that make us, that we love, are a part of our own legacy. My work, my podcast, my book, my paintings, everything is going to be a part of my legacy. Because when I'm going to go, people will be reminded of who I am by all of those things. And I want to make sure that um, I share myself so honestly that even when I'm gone, people or anyone who wants to remember me, they can experience me. And even when I'm not there physically, they can feel my presence. And that's what this heirloom series has been for me. I only wish that every collector who brings a piece of this heirloom home, they they are not I know that they're not only getting a piece of art, they're getting a piece of legacy. They are building their own legacy. Art is one of the most I just beautiful ways to share our stories, even as an artist and even as a collector, because we all find something that we want to say in that process, and we build our homes around that, our personalities around that. And art is such a visual representation of our likes, of our personality, of our dislikes. And I hope when you bring a piece of an heirloom home, it tells your story to your future, to your children, to your grandchildren, and to the world. People recognize you with these visual representations, and they bring that warmth into your life that they're meant to, and I know that they will. So I don't know, I've been just blabbing so much, but that's what it feels to me. That's what heirloom is to me. It's also a piece of my own heirloom, because this series is like, it's like it's like a legacy that I am creating now. When even I'm talking about this here, I know that a few years down the line, when I'll be thinking of this, it's like an ode to my own experience of um, understanding how important these things are, and how these are just not things. They are how we are knitting our stories, and these things will become so important to the people who love us, who would want to be with us even when we are gone. And why it's even more important, why they are so more important, in fact. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what I've been saying, but I hope it makes sense. If not, thank you for joining, because that's all I can say. I've been 100% honest. I just wanted to put these thoughts out there. And um, thank you for listening. And I will see you back with our regular episodes of artist interviews, everything from January. But in the meantime, for the next few episodes, you will be hearing um, very fun compilations of everything that's happened in this season one. The next episode is a compilation of all our artist inspirations, rapid fires. Oh my goodness, we're still a work in progress about all of that. So yeah, that's it. If you're interested in checking my series Heirloom out, you can go visit www.charukarora.com. All pieces are ready to be shipped. So if you want to bring a piece of heirloom home, you can, if you order now, maybe I can get it to you by Christmas, if not before New Year's for sure. I would love to send a piece of my story and connect with you, bond with you, and share a part of my story. So yeah, you can buy these pieces on www.charukarora.com, CHARUKAARORA.com. And I am going to take a leave now, and I will see you in the next episode. In the meanwhile, I only say I wish that you take the time to rest before this new year begins, and take the time to reflect and appreciate and celebrate everything that you've done. Celebrate the hardships, celebrate the growth, celebrate your learnings, celebrate the time that you have with your family, with your loved ones. And I hope we all find a brighter note to begin a new year with. And I hope you will be there still with me in this journey. And together we are going to do so much more. And I will see you in the next episode. I'm sending you a big hug, and let me know what you think about this episode. I would love to hear from you. So you can also tag me in your stories, send me a DM. What am I even saying today? Or just anywhere. I always love to hear from you. Sending you a big hug. Okay, bye. Bye.